So over the past couple of years, I have said so much about the bantamweight division of the UFC, it's impossible to think of what exactly a person has to say next. Just to make people understand just how bizarre a place in the sport of MMA this division happens to be. I mean, I've said that I've said that there's no justice in the bantamweight division. Although I did turn out to be a little bit wrong about that. I mean, when I said that, I was referring to Petr Yan getting a rematch against Aljamain Sterling for the bantamweight championship of the world, even after Petr Yan got himself disqualified in the first title match, for an illegal knee that, quite frankly, he was responsible for knowing was an illegal strike. But he did anyway, and he ran around pretending like he was the victim and like it was wrong that he got disqualified, even though it was, quite frankly, the most right thing, almost the most right thing in the history of MMA that Petr Yan was disqualified and had his title taken from him. And then, of course, Aljamain Sterling had the rematch, and Aljamain Sterling basically just took him to the mat and made a fool of him for 5 rounds. In, quite frankly, what I thought was an absolutely beautiful sight. And so I have also observed that really the bantamweight division of the UFC, kind of reminds us that the UFC, I mean, really the sport of MMA as a whole, but really the UFC is not a meritocracy. Fighters don't always necessarily get what they deserve, and sometimes fighters get things that they don't deserve. And as we see right now, with things that are going on in the bantamweight division right now, honestly, I think it may be true than I ever gave it credit for. Because as we come up to this upcoming Saturday, Marlon Chito Vera is going to fight in the main event of UFC Fight Night against Dominic Cruz. Now, don't read me wrong, don't get me wrong. That's a great matchup. Chito Vera absolutely deserves the opportunity to have that fight. There's nothing wrong with that. What's actually wrong is what we're going to look at a few more months down the road after that, when Sugar Sean O'Malley is actually going to get an opportunity to fight No Mercy Petr Yan, basically having done absolutely nothing to earn it. Now, in an earlier podcast segment, I talked about the path that Chito Vera and Sean O'Malley have been on since their fight a couple of years ago, when Chito Vera dealt Sean O'Malley his first loss. Chito Vera has gone on to consistently climb the rankings, fighting better and better and better and better fighters, while Sean O'Malley just kind of went on to fight, basically what were the MMA equivalent of a bunch of jobbers. And he was doing it on pay-per-view, while Chito Vera, for the most part, has been doing this on free TV. If the UFC was a meritocracy the way that we expect a sport like MMA to be, Sean O'Malley should have been the guy that was, trying to slug it out on free TV, while Chito Vera was the guy on pay-per-view. But somehow the UFC brass are absolutely convinced that Sean O'Malley is some kind of, amazing pay-per-view draw and fantastic talent, even though really we've never seen Sean O'Malley ever have to sell a fight on his own. He's always been on cards with main event, championship main events, sometimes multiple championship main events. Never been in a main event himself. He's never even had to try to sell a free TV main event. Not once in his career. We don't really know that Sean O'Malley is a draw. Although I think it's reasonable to say that we do know that Chito Vera is a draw, because he has done exactly that. He has sold multiple main events. Maybe not for great big pay-per-view dollars, but free TV views are still worth money to the UFC. But reasonably, how can it be that the fight that Sean O'Malley is looking forward to is a featured fight with Petr Yan on pay-per-view, when the fight that he's coming off of was a no contest against Pedro Munoz, a fight that became a no contest after Sean O'Malley stuck him in the eye with his thumb and basically made him unable to continue fighting. O'Malley had the temerity to come out and say that he won that fight. And as a matter of fact, at the time when the fight was stopped, he was trailing on the judges' scorecards. In fact, if that eye poke had happened in the third round rather than the second, he would have lost the technical decision. So Sean O'Malley, claiming that he won a fight that he absolutely did not win, is going to a pay-per-view feature, while Chito Vera, the guy that has won every single fight, including multiple main events, and he's just now coming off of a fight with Rob Font, where Rob Font actually showed up having missed weight, and coming off of a winning streak against ranked opponents. Somehow Chito Vera is having to settle for a free TV main event instead of a featured fight on pay-per-view. So in the final analysis, maybe not only is there no justice in the bantamweight division of the UFC, not only is the bantamweight division of the UFC especially not a meritocracy, right now it looks like a damn basket case. And at this point, it seems like it's fair to wonder what can be done to fix it, or even if Dana White thinks that there's a problem with it, or even if he would do anything to fix this, even if he thought that there was a problem with it. But I mean, good God, what are they going to do next? You know, give Mr. Clown here a title fight? Like, no matter what comes out, or no matter what kind of farce he manages to turn this Petr Yan fight into, or are they going to give Sean O'Malley a shot at the winner of Sterling Dillashaw? At this point, I'm starting to run out of ideas I'm starting to run out of ideas for them to screw this thing up worse than it actually already is. But at least now, maybe we finally found a good use for Petr Yan. You know, because, I mean, obviously Petr Yan is not cut out to be, is not really cut out to be a good champion. Because good champions don't get themselves disqualified. But in terms of a guy who could come along and, put some much-needed humility into Sugar Sean O'Malley, geez, I can't think of too many guys better for that.